In 1936, 4 men were arrested in New York for a crime so absurd you won't believe it was real. Going shirtless on a beach, not for indecent exposure, not for disturbing the peace, for simply removing their shirts on a hot summer day. Because in New York, as in most American cities, showing your nipples in public was illegal, even if you were a man. The law was deadly serious. Men were ticketed for lounging shirtless in Central Park, arrested for swimming bare-chested at Coney Island, fined for working construction with their shirts off during heat waves. Public decency codes didn't distinguish between male and female chests. Nipples were nipples, and nipples were scandalous. The punishment wasn't theoretical. In 1935 alone, 42 men were arrested in Atlantic City for appearing topless on the beach. Newspapers ran photos of police officers measuring the backs of men's bathing suits to ensure they covered enough skin. Suits had to extend at least 4 inches down the back, or you'd be hauled off the beach. Yes, police officers with measuring tapes, checking men's bathing suit coverage. This was 1930s America, where men were expected to swim in full tank tops, and going shirtless was considered morally equivalent to public nudity. But in the sweltering summer of 1936, some men decided they'd had enough. They formed the Topless Bathing Suit Club of New York and organized what might be the most literally cheeky protest in American history. They went to public parks and beaches, removed their shirts, and waited to be arrested on purpose. The press loved it. Newspapers covered the topless rebellion with barely suppressed glee. Photos ran of shirtless men being escorted off beaches by fully uniformed police officers. The visual absurdity speaking for itself. The protesters weren't angry or confrontational. They were cheerfully defiant. They sat shirtless in Central Park. They sunbathed bare-chested at public beaches. They turned their bodies into protests against a law they considered ridiculous. "We're not indecent," one protester told reporters. "We're just hot." Authorities didn't know what to do. Enforcing the law made them look absurd. Ignoring it meant admitting the law was nonsense. The protests continued through the summer. More men joined. The spectacle grew. And in 1937, the law quietly died. There wasn't a dramatic Supreme Court ruling or legislative vote. Enforcement simply stopped. Judges began dismissing charges. Police stopped making arrests. The ban on male toplessness faded into history like the ridiculous relic it was. By 1937, men could legally bare their chest in public, a freedom they'd won by deliberately breaking a law too silly to defend. The change marked a genuine shift in how American law viewed public decency and gender. For the first time, legal code acknowledged that male and female bodies might be subject to different standards. Of course, that cut both ways. Men won the right to go shirtless. Women's bodies remain subject to legal control that persists to this day. In most U.S. states, female toplessness is still illegal. The same public decency logic that once criminalized male nipples now applies exclusively to women. The 1937 victory was real, but it was also incomplete. The question those shirtless protesters raised in 1936 remains relevant. Who decides what parts of the human body are decent? And why do those decisions still fall along gender lines? Think about the absurdity. There was a time within living memory when police officers measured men's bathing suits to ensure adequate coverage, when a shirtless man in Central Park could be arrested, when male nipples were considered obscene. It took civil disobedience to change that. A bunch of guys who decided a stupid law deserved to be broken and who were willing to get arrested to prove it. They won their freedom by sitting shirtless in the sun and forcing society to confront how ridiculous the restriction had always been. So the next time you see a shirtless guy jogging through the park or sunbathing at the beach, remember, that's a freedom that had to be fought for, literally with organized protests against police with measuring tapes. From illegal nipples to the right to go shirtless, the story of men's 1936 topless protests is a reminder that even the most basic freedoms sometimes require people willing to break absurd laws until society realizes they were absurd all along. And maybe, just maybe, it raises a question worth asking. If male toplessness required protest to become legal, when's the next round of protests coming? Sometimes you got to fight for your rights. Stick around for more. It's KeysDAN, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here.